There is this great video by Dave's Garage, a retired OS engineer from Microsoft, that explains the origin and purpose of the BSOD, or blue screen of death, on Windows, and I highly recommend you go and check it out. But that's Windows, and we talk about Linux here. And in what seems like an intentional attempt to troll people that basically only read headlines, what if I told you that blue screens of death were coming to Linux? And no, I don't mean that X screensaver extension that emulates the look of a blue screen of death. So Phoronix did actually talk about this a couple of weeks ago. Systemd 255 RC1 brings blue screen of death support. Currently, the latest release of Systemd is 254 back in July, and the latest RC is RC3. So we're still a little bit away for this actually shipping on distros, but on distros like Arch, distros like Gentoo, it'll probably be available, I would imagine, late December, maybe early January. And then by the time, Ubuntu 24.04 comes out, you'll probably have this. And back to that Phoronix article for just a moment. Systemd 255 even is introducing systemd-bsod as a blue screen of death for displaying important error messages during boot failure. It's not an off-timed April Fool's joke or anything. There is finally a systemd-bsod service for blue screen of death, full screen error messages on Linux. If the goal of this was to troll people that for some reason still don't like Systemd, they achieved their goal pretty well. Here, from the biggest fans of Systemd, the Debugging forums. The insanity continues. BSOD coming to a Systemd near you. I wish it were a parody, but apparently this really is the level some Systemd contributors are operating on, and aping even the most inane and idiotic Windows features is not only given consideration, this stinker floater has actually been merged. If it were me reviewing that pull, I would have laughed my ass off and followed up with a flat no. Long may Devuin and other sane distributions of note continue to not package or otherwise encourage this amateur hour circus. Or just have a read of some of the Phoronix replies. Does it really need to be called that way? Or is it just intentionally named that way to throw dirt into Linux adoption with, hey, Linux has BSODs too for gullible people. If I didn't hate Systemd before, now with Microsoft calling all the shots, seems that it tries more and more to make me hate it. So congratulations to Devuin developers for keeping a safe boat. This one's a bit more tongue-in-cheek. I mean, we all expected that when he got hired at Microsoft. Now, this is the merge request in question that actually brought the feature in. Add tool to display emergency log message full screen on boot failure. If you want to have a read of the discussion about this, feel free to go and do so, but this was pretty much the idea of this developer working alongside Pottering, so there's not really any, negative discussion here, and nobody realized this was happening until it had already actually been merged and available in the RC. But whilst the idea of a BSOD sounds kind of odd, what is this really doing? Well, let's have a read of some of the documentation. Systemd-bsod service systemd-bsod displays boot time emergency log message in full screen. Systemd-bsod service is used to display a blue screen which contains a message relating to boot failure, including a QR code which can be scanned to get helpful information about the failure. And right now, there's not that many options to it, which to me at least sounds fairly similar to the function of the Windows BSOD, albeit in a slightly different place in the execution stack. Now, the Windows blue screen is one of the most misunderstood part of Windows. It gets blamed for so many things, but the BSOD's never done anything wrong. The BSOD is a good thing and is the pinnacle of don't shoot the messenger. It gets blamed for everything else in your system being the problem. It solely exists to tell you that something else caused an issue. Whether it's a Windows kernel issue, damn BSOD, it's a driver issue. Damn BSOD, you have some faulty hardware. How dare this BSOD break my system? The moon is in the incorrect lunar phase. Why is there a blue screen? Stop blaming the blue screen. Read the message because it is just there to tell you about a problem. Prior to Windows NT, there was a rudimentary version of the blue screen. It works a little bit differently, and you could also just ignore it and just keep running. The problem is if there's like, a faulty power supply, a faulty hard drive, a driver issue, whether you actually could keep going was going to be very hit and miss. And it's a lot safer to just not let the user do that, power down the system, and then go from there. Now, it's not like Linux just doesn't have the concept of, an error screen if something goes really badly. Maybe you're trying to boot into a system and you have like buggy NVIDIA drivers and it doesn't know what your card is. Maybe you have like a kernel stack trace. Maybe you have your boot drive and your home drive separated and you try to boot into a system and the home drive just died and it cannot be found anymore. All of these are going to have error messages printed that indicate that something really bad is happening. And these systems are great for a developer. But if you're just a regular user, not like, a regular user that does some programming, just some regular person, and you see a kernel stack trace, you're probably going to have no idea what to do with that. That's totally understandable. If you see various driver issues, a lot of those just won't really make any sense to you. What if there was a better way to present information to you? And what if there was a way to present, a little bit different information that might be a little bit more high level, that's a bit more understandable? Well, luckily, if you're using systemd, actually, if you're using really any system, there is already going to be extensive logging of what is going on in the system. And at least from my perspective, providing this information to the user, in most cases, is probably going to be a lot more useful and provide them with something that they can easily work on and try to fix on their own system, because maybe it's not actually a bug in the code, maybe it's something that is legitimately wrong with their hardware, and that will give them the indication that that is the case, rather than the other option of not understanding what is being said, rebooting the system, and just hoping that nothing bad happens again. Which, to be fair, when people have BSODs on Windows, is what often happens. A lot of people, that's partially why they blame them, they don't read the message, they just say, the system blue screened, oh well, turn it back on, well, let's see if that doesn't happen again, and then it does. And then it does, and then it does, and then people get very angry that blue screens exist, and we're in the situation that we're in now. Showing log messages is great, but the part that I'm most curious about is including a QR code which can be scanned to get helpful information about the failure. That is all it says about it, which isn't the best of documentation to really understand what it's doing. My assumption here is by default, it's going to show additional context around the log. So rather than just, the last message that indicates a failure, an extended log so you can have a easier way to examine it. But I would also hope there is a way for different distros to modify what is being shown. Maybe let them link to a bug tracker, whether it's their own or some external bug tracker. Maybe let them link to like a wiki, for example. These, I think, would be incredibly useful resources that would provide a way for users to, easily get access to the resources they need to hopefully address the problem. And at least from what I've seen of the code, adding that doesn't seem like it would be that crazy to do. So the main QR code functions, the way that I understand it, are write QR code and print QR code full. And both of these take a file that they eventually, down the bottom here, actually write out the QR code. So you could, let the distro customize what file is going to be shown there. And maybe something else that would be nice is, providing a way to customize the color. Because even the Windows blue screen does provide a way to modify that color. If it's not going to be available there from the start, I hope in a future version that is going to be a thing. I don't expect a feature to be added during the release candidate, so maybe in like 256 or something in the future, then we have that sort of functionality. we are still a bit away from 255 hitting stable, but it's going to be happening soon. So very, very soon, the idea of a blue screen of death is going to be coming to Linux. And I'm absolutely certain there are going to be people memeing on it. I say that because I'm going to be one of those people. But if I'm being honest, I think it's a good thing. I actually think it's a great thing to provide information to the user in a way that is more easily accessible, in a way that they can practically address the problems on the system themselves. But let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe you think the idea of a blue screen is a bad thing. Maybe you think there is a better way to present this information, or maybe you think the way we currently do it is totally fine. I would love to know. So if you liked the video, go and like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to Daily Bearer Pay, link in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and pottering good?
Something like this.